to Evil's Comics. I'm Evil, and I have a review for you today. Today's DC's Man-Bat, and we're going to do the complete story, issues 1 through 5. So, class, go ahead and open your books. We'll go into detail and review and examine, starting from panel 1, page 1, paragraph A, sentence A. No, I'm just messing with you. Okay, that was from my boy Chop. Yes, I'm going to review DC's Man-Bat issues 1 through 5. I'm going to do a quick story catch-up, and then we'll go into detail into issue 5. So first off, this does take place during the events of the Joker War. The Joker War was the last major Batman event that happened. Of course, we did have the Infinite Frontier and Future State that happened, but technically that was the last major Batman event happened. So, like in the beginning of the book, it kind of, make sure you remember that this happened before the events of the Joker War. So it catches up with Kurt Langstrom, and for those who don't know who Kurt Langstrom is, or the Man-Bat, Man-Bat is one of Batman's villains, and over the years he's kind of go back and forth. He's sometimes a Batman villain, sometimes he's a hero or anti-hero or anti-villain sometimes. He's just, his story, he's one of the characters from my experiences from the animated series, back in the 90s, and that was kind of my introduction to Man-Bat. He's not featured a lot in the comics, so I was reading a lot of Batman at that time, and he doesn't show up as often as you might think. It is Dr. Kurt Langstrom, which is the human side of it, and basically it's kind of like a retelling of a New Age Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde kind of thing. Minus, it's more, because if you read that original story, he doesn't really have the whole abominable transformation. It's really, psych, dwelling type of thing, into the ego and the mind of a human person. The split personality type thing. And Kurt Langstrom is definitely the split personality, because his whole story, his origin story is, and he was created by Neil Adams, but his whole origin story is he has a sister that is, she can't hear, she was born deaf, and so his whole doctorship goes into trying to cure his sister, his sister's deafness, and help the world at the same time. And in the process, he develops a serum, and without waiting for animal or human trials, and of course it's mixed with bat DNA, he takes the serum, and thus, is born Man-Bat. And he turns into this, many will say a monstrous, version. I always liked the Man-Bat. One of the, the Man-Bat from the animated series, that toy. I still have that toy. It's somewhere in my box. Just his kind of creation in Batman. As a kid, I always had that, oh, it's Batman, and it kind of made sense. It's kind of like Spider-Man. It fits, once you get past it's a spider/man, it can do what a spider can. But, Batman, it's like, he can't really fly, he can, he uses technology and stuff, but he's not really a bat, right? So I was, as a kid, I was he had all these villains like the Joker, and of course I love Batman's villains, but then it's like, well, why isn't there a giant bat or something, and then along comes Man-Bat, and I was like, yes, this works for me. And every time, Man-Bat shows up, it's always this fight over the sky, type thing, no, I'm the superior bat, and I always loved that. It added that, I don't know, as a kid, that excitement, and it was another side of Batman that you don't get to see, because Batman fights a lot of realistic type villains. Yes, they're not realistic like the Joker, but technically they are. They're human. They don't have powers type thing. Some of them do, like Clayface, but they're kind of more realistic when you think about it. Compared to some of the other supervillains that are out there, Thanos and Darkseid, and So then you bring in like Man Bat, and he's got the whole monstrous, appeal to him, and that always appealed to me. So in Man Bat's origin story, as he's going, like right around the time he's developing the Man Bat series, he does get involved with another doctor who is like the daughter of the main scientist of the group of when he's trying to develop the serum, and he falls in love with her. Her name is Francine, and they get, I think they get married or engaged or something like that. I always forget that part of it, but I'm just gonna say they got married, and then comes the Man Bat, and of course him changing in the Man Bat. And if you don't know, it's not always permanent. It's sometimes he reverts back to Kurt Langstrom, and there's always this duality thing with Kurt Langstrom and the Man Bat, because they are two different entities, and Kurt Langstrom's kind of like the weaker, because he's a science geek, that type of thing, and he's the kind of cliches type of science. He's real recluse, and he's not very heroic type thing. Man Bat isn't necessarily like a dangerous entity or anything like that. It's not like he appears and he's just bloodlust. It's not like that. Sometimes he's portrayed like that, but it's more along the lines of it depends on what's going on, and he's always like the stronger version of Kurt Langstrom. So this series, after all that long, and most of you that know Man Bat are like, I'm skipping, and that's fine. I'll put a time code for when this starts. But so now, knowing all that, we get to the real review. So the issue starts out, and it's about Kurt Langstrom, and he's been trying to do this hero thing. Now he's been pegged as a villain for years, and he's trying to change his life and do good, and kind of trying to like really take over the Man Bat persona and make it a good symbol. So he comes back to Gotham, and that's kind of issue 1 into the series. And he's not only that, but he's trying to win back Francine, because at the time they are separated. When he comes back, Scarecrow is in the process of developing this new, he's using and we've seen it lately, it's popped up in Batman and in the Future State series, and it all ties together, and so does the series. It's tying into what's coming up, and I'll get there. But, because there's a reason I'm doing this review, like I waited. But, okay, so he comes back, and Scarecrow's developing this new fear technology stuff, and what it is, it's his gas, but it's also it's mixed with psionics, which is Man Bat's technology, and then it's mixed with light technology. So he's kind of doing a whole Mysterio thing now, where it's not just the fear gas. Now he's doing hallucinogenics, and he's messing with holograms and that kind of stuff. So when Man Bat comes back, he comes back and he sees Scarecrow in this thing, and he tries to stop Scarecrow and save the day like Batman and stuff, and he ends up messing it up where he destroys the sound device, and it makes a big a whole bunch of people go deaf, because the boom that happens from him destroying the sound device. So after that, as you can tell from the second issue, basically the Suicide Squad show up, they try to capture him. He goes into hiding after what he did. He does this whole guilt thing. Of course, Francine is really pissed at him because of what he did. So the Suicide Squad, they try and grab him and try and abduct him and put him into the Suicide Squad, which they fail at miserably. Eventually he does get captured, and when he gets captured, it's by Scarecrow and a whole group of people, and he's put into this mock house. Francine is also captured at the same time, and it's it's a big warehouse, kind of like you've seen in Saw or something like that, but it's a big warehouse where it's all set up where it looks like they can't escape, but they really can't. And they've been introduced to this whole new fear Mysterio hallucinative thing, and they basically, it's the whole rest of the issue. The next two issues are kind of the third issue is kind of like them playing out if everything would have worked, and Francine and him would have had this happy life, and at the same time they really start working together to finally come up with this ultimate cure. But they are really being tricked by Scarecrow. At the end of this issue, we do find out that Batman does like kind of find out all this, because all this is going in Gotham City, and eventually, you know, Batman doing his detective stuff does show up, and of course you got Batman on the front cover. He shows up, and it's like he kind of stops the device and everything that's happening at the warehouse, tackles Scarecrow, and at the same time, like Kurt Langstrom, Man-Bat, still thinks he's working with Francine, and of course he's still, yeah, like got the fear juice in him, and he believes that he really created this perfect serum, and when he takes it, it's not what he thinks it is. It's the opposite. It's like he becomes like the worst version. Like he thought it was going to be like this version where he takes it and he could, like, you know, go back to human, go back to Man-Bat, like whenever he wanted. But it would also, like, it wouldn't, like, you wouldn't have to necessarily transform. Like, it was really going to just cure somebody's hearing by mixing that bat DNA. With him, it was also going to revert him to his human side, but he would still keep some of the bat qualities as far as like strength and stuff like that. He just wouldn't look like Man-Bat. But of course, he was tricked by the Scarecrow, and that's not what he developed. It was really this like kind of like Titan, you know, mutagenic thing that really ramped up the Man-Bat part of him, because as you can see on the 5th cover, and it was revealed on the 4th, in the very last issue of the 4th, it would be his first appearance, but we have King Man-Bat, and man, he's pretty cool. But basically that's the lead up to, you know, basically the origin on Kurt Langstrom, and, you know, catch up on this story. But we're basically like right here, and it's basically like, you know, he took that King Man-Bat serum, and he thought it was going to cure him, and it didn't, and it's just made him more aggressive, and so he instantly goes after Batman. Batman hasn't realized it, but he's also been infected with that new fear. Just by entering the warehouse, he's already, you know, by the hallucinogenative fear thing. So Batman's kind of dealing with it at the same time. And to King Man-Bat's surprise, because King Man-Bat definitely has the size and the strength, but this new fear, the hallucinogenative thing, it doesn't just scare you, but it kind of like enrages you, and it like makes the worst possible you, so you do all the damage kind of thing, and that's Scarecrow's whole gag, and it kind of backfires, because Bruce Wayne as Batman, you know, he just like kind of stops giving shits, and he just starts whooping ass, even to the point where he tells Man-Bat that he's happy that he has all this size and weight, and I mean, he literally just, I mean, blow for blow, just whoops King. Like, I mean, it's just like, man, they just gave him a bigger punching bag, and Bruce Wayne couldn't have been more thrilled type thing. I mean, there is some, like, as this is going on, because at this moment it's like, it's kind of also like awakening. It's not just like, you know, he's King Man-Bat and he's just enraged. No, there's this like whole battle that takes place within, and with Kurt and Man-Bat himself, and Man-Bat keeps telling him, man, he's like, man, come on, Kurt, I want you to be this man, this strong person, you know, and you can do this, you know, we can do this. And he's like, man, if you got any ideas, help us out, because Batman is beating the shit out of us, you know, we're not going to survive too much longer. And at the same time, the serum is not like exactly stable, and so they fear that they're not going to stay King Man-Bat very longer, or maybe not even Man-Bat in general, and they need to kind of save Francine and you know, beat the hell out of Scarecrow type thing. So they do try some different things, where they try taking Batman to the skies, like, oh yeah, there's one thing you lack, you don't have the wings, and yeah, Batman's like, bro, I got some wings, and you know, like a GE just shows up with this Batwing. Scarecrow at this time is taking this advantage, because they're doing this whole hustle thing, you know, they're fight down. He's taken off and grabbed his like fear hallucinogenative thing, and he's blasting like the public, and it's making them like go crazy and enraged. And Francine is also down there, because she's you know, the only one that was in that group that was aware that Scarecrow was leaving, and so she's after Scarecrow, trying to stop him so he doesn't do what he's doing. In the process, you know, Scarecrow blasting people, trying to like, you know, use them as a barricade, but also to go get Francine, because now they're just like kind of like, I want to say like zombies, but they're not zombies, they're not dead or anything, they're just they lost all reason. Now they're just pissed off humans, you know, attacking everybody and everything. Um, they do show that like eventually like Man-Bat is able to get away from Batman for the moment, because the whole time in the sky, Batman has just been on this guy, and Man-Bat is struggling to come up with better ideas, you know, to get away from Batman, because Batman has just been ruthless. Eventually, he does like toss away Batman, hoping that he'll give him some time to deal with what he needs to deal with, and he kind of like figures out what's going on, and he swoops down to save Francine and gets her away from that whole craziness. He does take her to a rooftop, you know, and she's like, "No, this isn't the right place," and he's like, "No." He was like, you know, me and Kurt are kind of working through something, you know, we're going to take care of this, and this is going to be the rest of our mess, and that's going to be it, you know. So he goes after like Scarecrow, and they do show like a huge confrontation first with him kind of swooping in the rooftop that Scarecrow's at, and like right here, just, you know, grabbing them all brute style. They do show a lot of the inner turmoil that basically Kurt and Man-Bat are going through, trying to, you know, stay together, trying to come to this like one ultimate being, and finally they do, and it's like this smart Man-Bat. It is Kurt Langstrom and Man-Bat finally merged together to create the superior being that he was trying to create all those years ago. And Francine is actually kind of like finally amazed that they did it, and they actually like start working together. They do revert all of Scarecrow's like, you know, the hallucinative fear thing. They do, you know, beat Scarecrow, basically like turn him over to the authorities and stuff. And there is a quick like, you know, little, you know, conversation here. It's one of the saddest things ever, because basically Kurt's like, you know, Francine's like, you know, Kurt knows he screwed this girl over, and his whole time he's been constantly trying to get this girl back and to prove to her that they are meant to be and stuff like that. And finally, with both of his egos merged together, he has come to the realization that it was never meant to be, and all his mess ups have been just because of him, nothing to do with Batman or Francine or anybody else. They've all just been his mess ups. And he's finally like kind of owning up to the truth, and he tells Francine that he's never going to talk to her again, and he hopes she has a happy life, you know, and it's very touching. You know, it sucks, you know, this is like, you know, because this story could have gone like a million ways, you know, how it went. You know, they could have finally worked together, and maybe, you know, but this is life, and this happens, you know. You keep making mistakes, and you know, them people, they're not going to stick around. So they do show that you know, Man-Bat is in prison at Blackgate. I think it's Blackgate. Yeah, Blackgate. And we see that he's getting visited by Wonder Woman, and Man-Bat has not stayed. Not, you know, I mean, he has stayed busy. He has been inside, and he's been like doing research and continuing on his like scientific stuff as far as, you know, trying to cure deafness. She mentions all this incredible stuff that he has done while he's locked up, and she kind of mentions that she needs his help, and Batman's on board with it, but not going to be attached to it, kind of thing. And Batman's kind of confused and doesn't understand, and she kind of lays down the truth, and we know Wonder Woman's all about that truth, you know. And she hands him the lasso, and she's like, "Bro, if you grab this lasso and you honestly admit that you know, you will come along and you will be there to save people, or, you know, to be a hero type, you know, guy, then grab this lasso. You know, let's hear your truth." And you know, I mean, the lasso won't let you lie. So, and sure enough, he does. You know, at first they show him kind of hesitant, and like after she tells him to grab that lasso, man, he grabs it, and he's like, "Man, I'm all about the truth now." So it really looks like, you know, this new Man-Bat is definitely on his way to trying to amend all the wrongs that he did over the years. That maybe he just, you know, just confused, you know, type thing. It does say, follow the adventures of Man-Bat and his newfound truth in Justice League Dark, the Last Age of Magic. If you follow my channel, I've been reading Justice League, and these side stories are Justice League Dark. As far as I know, they haven't relaunched Justice League Dark yet. So I don't know if this means Justice League Dark's coming. We're finally getting new issues, which I am all on board for. But I hinted at something earlier. This does tie in specifically to something that happens recently in Batman Detective Comics, this past week's Batman Detective Comics. So, I mean, if you have not, if you have read that and we're kind of lost at the Man-Bat side story, because that's what it pertains to, it's kind of directly tied to this series right here and everything that went down. This was an excellent series. I mean, all around, it was just really good. I mean, especially the touching stuff at the end, the family stuff in the third issue, the Suicide Squad meetup was definitely fun. And everybody's there, the good ones, Deadshot, Harley, it's fun. But overall, a really good read, especially for a 5-issue little mini run. It was definitely worth it, especially if you're a Man-Bat fan, or if you don't know a lot about Man-Bat. I mean, I'm pretty sure they'll do a trade, and I mean, pick up the trade, give it a read, Let me know what you think. Let me know how I did. That is my review. Like, comment, subscribe. Tell all your friends about me. Let them people know. Evil Comics is around and he's got stuff to talk about. All right, guys. I'll see y'all later.